This conference will now be recorded.
So who do I have as caller?
Tom?
Oh, hey, Tom.
All right. I got to call in this time.
Okay.
Put me on mute.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, Wally, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Hey, sorry for the confusion about the first email. 1 a.m. was probably an unreasonable time to expect everyone to join in. I don't know.
That's that's true, but I assumed it was 1 p.m. So
Yeah, that was probably a good assumption. I just I was just left off at 0. Yeah, well,
things happen.
yeah. We're glad we got you now. All right. We got Doug. We got Jasmine. And I think I just got notification that Rick will be joining us. Hey, Jasmine,
Yes,
you think we need to share the document again?
it wouldn't hurt.
Okay. You want me to give it to you or Wally,
I
or
know,
how do you?
Wally, I have it open.
Go ahead, Jasmine.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Jasmine, you're the presenter now.
How's that look?
Maybe just to zoom in a little bit. Yeah, that's good. Thanks. And we'll give maybe one more minute to see. I assume that Rick Nelson's trying to log in right now, probably having some unsuccessful attempts at it too.
So Greg, you didn't say, are you gonna be okay with where they put your driveway, or are you gonna make them
Well, he
redo it?
was, yeah, they were, when I realized what he had done, we talked to like I said, the project manager, and then he was going to he reached out to the construction guy, and then he tried to call me yesterday morning, and I put on speaker. We started to talk to him, and all of a sudden we lost reception, and then he never called me back. So I think he was out on a job site with bad reception. So I was hoping to talk to him today, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, no, we haven't got it corrected yet. But I
Are you
suspect we will. I
gonna
think
are
we
you
will.
gonna make them like take it out and put it back where
Yeah,
you want it?
I'm gonna make him move it. Like, I'm not gonna have it sit there
Start
forever
it off
like that.
like right
Yeah,
now, like at the
yeah, set the
beginning, like
tone.
you're not gonna get away with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started here. Hopefully Rick will join us in a minute or two. So we did actually start to meet this morning and just kind of talk through what we would be going over today. And Wally, if it's okay with you, I'm just recording this just for internal purposes only. I'm gonna give this to the folks that weren't able to make it to this afternoon meeting. And we just what I do is I post it on our website, but it's on a members only page that only those folks can have access to. So and then I'll
Yep,
pull it down once everyone's had a chance to see it. So,
yep, no
um,
problem.
okay, great. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and put myself on mute and allow the Nebraska folks to talk us through this a little bit.
Okay, so I think Wally, the big thing that we can get out of this meeting, there's two things. Um, as far as going through through the document and what we needed to do to satisfy, the responses that we got from the other states, and um, and kind of just learning the whole process. So if at any point we want to push something else through the AASHTO, process, that we learn how to do that.
Right.
And then based on kind of how that process works, like what's upcoming for this particular method through AASHTO, to make the decision. And I think we already kind of discussed it, but we're leaning towards retaining John Ming for another 6 months, just so he's another, still our resource to provide assistance with any further comments that come back. So yeah, I think if you could walk us through how this whole process works.
Sure. So if we start from the beginning, when a standard is put together for AASHTO, we follow the ASTM bullets, which I shared with Jasmine. There's just certain requirements that need to meet a typical standard. And so that was one of the things that popped up. But the first thing that happens is somebody proposes a standard, and if it's like fresh concrete, it'll come to me. And so when it comes to me, then what I'll do is I'll review it, then I'll send it to a couple members and get some feedback from them prior to taking to a meeting. And at that point, typically it's an annual meeting. We go in there, we discuss it, and then we decide whether it's a specification or a standard that you want to move forward with. And so it's voted on to move forward with it or not. And typically they all are voted in as a provisional. And I did look, and I just pulled up the minutes here a few minutes ago for this particular meeting, and it was item 3, motion to publish this provisional standard. And so it will be a provisional standard in the future. So the next published book that comes out will be in there. And what we typically do, it's typically 4 years. It'll be a provisional. That gives everybody a chance to use it, make comments, and maybe there's tweaks in there that we missed. Once it gets out there and being used, then you get a lot more comments coming back, and typically, and maybe you want to change this or that. And so then we got the next 4 years or so to massage it, and then it'll be voted in as a full standard, providing somebody's using it. If it's not being used, then they'll make that discussion to throw it out. So typically, that's how, in a nutshell, that all works. Any questions?
Makes sense. Thanks, Wally.
So what's going to happen in November?
November, I don't know. Good question. Right now, I don't know what the agenda is for it. But what I'm pushing for is to try and get these changes done prior to the November meeting, so we can throw it back at them with the changes that they want done and some of the comments I made. We can get that done. Then what will happen is they'll vote on it as a committee, and then next August, then it'll go in as a if it gives us a chance. Once again, what will happen is we'll vote on it. There'll be comments. There'll be maybe negatives. People might agree to it but have comments. So then you go back and you massage it again, and then it'll go to the next meeting, which is the annual meeting in August, and then they'll look at the changes that were made and vote on it and see if everybody agrees with it. And that'll go to, once the nice thing about getting it to the tech committee first is you get their feedback first, and then versus going to a full ballot where you're sending it out to everybody in the world, and then that can be overwhelming if it's a really new standard. So if we can pull it together and have it ready to go for the November meeting, that'd be awesome. And it's looked like a lot of that stuff, I think there's only a couple of things in there that was lacking, if I remember right. I haven't looked at it in a while. But it was the sampling of liquids. That was something I thought that needed to be in there, because how do you sample that material?
And we discussed that a little bit this morning. So my thought was just we would borrow the language that's in our current document. But there was some more discussion this morning on, is that, would that cause more questions from the committee?
That I don't know. I know when I went through and added some of the reference standards and whatnot, I just looked up went through some of the standards that we currently have and just started, okay, well, we got thermometers, we got weighing devices. So that's where I started pulling all that information from. I think one option would be we can find a standard that has liquids in it. And if it matches what a de-icer acts and behaves like, that's an option. Maybe we can just steal from that one. I'm open.
My concern is, because we have in our guidance document, this is how liquids should be sampled. If we put something different in here, there, I don't know. I don't want that to be a problem down the road as far as, okay, whose test results are valid because someone sampled this way and then someone else sampled the other way. And I know, and I agree with Doug. He mentioned earlier, we don't want this to be a holdup on getting it, fully pushed through. So
I would recommend just whatever you're currently using, throw it in there and make it look like the current standard and run with it and see what happens. It's the only way you're going to know. Unless somebody sees it. And my goal is, if we can get it done early enough, I'm going to send it to Mark Flag, who was concerned about the outline, so he can review it. And then the co-chair, I want to send it to him because forget what state he's from, but he was the one that you guys were working with early on. He had a lot of questions on Kurt. No, it wasn't Kurt. No. It was I think he was from Maine. I can't remember. I'm not familiar with that committee. I just sit on it now because of this. And then the one thing I want to point out too is when I was sitting on the last meeting, just to get this thing moving, I know I'm talking to Jasmine, we want to keep pushing it. And I thought it would be easier if Nebraska took the lead on it. And me being on a committee for a little over 10 years, know a few people that I can bounce things off from and have them review it if we need to. And so we can keep this thing moving. Otherwise, by time, they send you an email and say, this needs to be massaged a little bit, and you send it back, you might burn, several weeks to a month or 2 months. And if we want to get it on the agenda for November, we got to get on her.
Is it Richard Bradbury from Maine? Anyway, I pulled up that spreadsheet is all, and that's what I found on there. Hey, Jasmine, this is a ridiculously silly question, but this test method, then, will it be incorporated into the standard specifications document that we have for the QPL after we've got it in its final form?
I would imagine that we'll have that conversation. Our QPL committee will.
Well, yeah, right now we don't have performance in the QPL, Greg.
Right.
So if we decide to have performance in the QPL, which I'm personally on the fence about, just
okay.
I'm not sure we want to do that as a QPL, but I can probably be argued the other way. I use this test method for awarding contracts, but I do that, through part of my purchasing piece of it. So, and any other state can do that, but I guess what we're also finding is the states don't necessarily, they want to make things easier on them. So I don't know. It's a bigger question.
Well, and it could be a part of, like, because I think there's a section of the guidance document that discusses, just suggestions on how a state could, this could be a, incorporated into that, just a suggestion. So.
Okay, because what you were saying earlier, Jasmine, when you were talking about pulling from the guidance document, you're talking about the QPL guidance document in terms of sampling,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Correct.
So yeah, I was just making sure that if we were thinking of incorporating it into that guidance document, that we didn't have maybe conflicting, or if that's why we were trying to have consistent sampling methods, mentioned in there, or if that's even something we might consider doing in the future. That's obviously, something you probably want to think about. But okay, all right. That just wanted to make sure that I had that big picture um, in my mind.
So I still have a question on the timeline. So sorry, I'm slow on this. So November, there's going to be another committee vote that will get, some feedback. And then August at the annual meeting, there would be another vote to get
Correct.
feedback. Okay.
So what it'll be is the committee will review it, look it over, and it'll all come back to Kurt how he wants to handle this. I can tell you what I would do. I'd want it in advance, and so I can bring it to the committee. We can discuss it, do a spring ballot on it, give everybody a chance on the committee to review it, and then it gives me as a co-chair several months prior to the annual meeting to massage the standard again and try and resolve any negatives and make
Of course,
the what's it? So that's the way I would handle it if it was my committee. I can't speak for Kurt. All I can do is feed him the information and see how he handles it.
So you said though, like we've gotten enough affirmatives, like it's going to be published as a provisional.
Correct.
That won't be next year, or it will. When will it be
No,
published as a provisional?
that isn't. That'd be publishing. Let me see here. So 5C, I printed this today. So we're going to have ballots going out here 9/11, and then our mid-year meetings will be October 30th through 11/17. So that's our goal line, is to be ready for that committee with changes so they can discuss it. And then, handed off, and then it's handed off to publishing somewhere between mid-October to December.
So I guess that's where I'm kind of going with this. So if it's already as a provisional, and it sounds like publishing will happen October-ish.
Yep.
That's before the November committee meeting.
No, because it gets handed off to publishing.
Okay.
So once we're done with our part of it, so if I have another ballot, say, coming up here in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, a month, I guess it is, and I have so much time to take care of any comments and negatives. And then if I can get them resolved prior to the meeting, then in the meeting we'll discuss it. And then from there, if we can resolve everything, those changes will be made to the standard and will be published that way.
Okay, so whatever, if everything's good at the November meeting, then it would be published at that point as a provisional.
And once again, this is coming from my perspective for Fresh Concrete. This is how I would do our committee. I can't speak for Kurt. He may decide that what we've done is not, what's the word I'm looking for? Editorial. If he says it's not editorial, then it's got to go through the entire system again. Okay. So that's where they'll vote on it, and that's where you have the spring vote again, hopefully.
Okay.
So it all depends how he handles it. If he looks at it and goes, "This is all editorial," then we're good.
Okay.
So I just don't know.
Okay. Cool. That helps. Okay. So I don't know. I personally think that it still is a good idea to keep John Ming for another 6 months.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. And it also sounds then that what the changes that you and Wally have made to this document, as long as I do want to give the subcommittee a little bit more time to review it because I know a couple had not. But it sounds like I think if at least from your guys' side, if we on Nebraska side, if we approve it as is, it should be ready to go to the committee for their review and vote. There's probably, or what? Oh, no. You said you still have to take it to that guy from Maine, right? You want to take this
Yeah,
version to the guy from
yeah.
Maine.
So I want to bounce it off a couple of people prior to
Okay.
handing it back to the chair, and
Okay.
so that way, at least we have somebody reviewed it prior to, and if they got any questions, then we can fix them right away.
Okay. And
But based on
then,
what I saw in there anyway, it should be good to go. But different set of eyes see different things. So
absolutely. So then, Doug, Jasmine, how long do you think? Maybe by next Friday, can we say that we have enough time for the Clear Road Subcommittee to review it?
Should
Do you
be.
want to send a message out telling them they have that deadline?
Oh, yeah, that would be the plan. I just want to make sure that seems like a reasonable timeline to you guys.
I think
Yeah,
because really, I mean, like Wally was saying, we didn't add any content. This was like
Yeah.
I think John Ming he'd moved this to a note, but it was like below the section, and so Wally moved it, to be in line with how AASHTO, the formatting of AASHTO. So,
Hmm.
um, so yeah, nothing in here. The only thing, that we, I guess, essentially added was this,
right.
and I could, just a minute.
I was thinking we had something in there for sampling, so we were just gonna. Is that what we're gonna take from the guidance
Well,
document?
oh, did that go all weird on you?
Yeah,
it's
going blank.
blinked.
Well, I enabled editing. That is so weird. Here, I'm gonna stop sharing,
Okay.
and I'm gonna try again.
Okay.
Oh wait. Okay. How's that?
Good.
Okay. So this would essentially,
Yep.
be this.
Yep.
Um, and then everything else, yeah, just the formatting here. And Jean Ming, I checked. He added, all the sections that the ASTM format requires. All those sections are there.
Hmm.
Um, we added those two areas, and I mean that. So I don't know. Do you want me to, like, I guess, let me see if I
Excuse me.
Make that change and send it out. Yes, if that's
Yeah,
what you're
so,
asking.
yeah, get it to me and I will repost it on our members only page. I'll send an email out and I'll say, everybody, here's what was done, and you have until next Friday to, and preferably before that, because then Wally needs to take it and get it reviewed by a few people to get this rolling. So we don't want to, if we can get it done before Friday, that would be better.
Yeah, I would agree. And then one other comment I would throw in there is it'd be nice to, before we send it on, or if once you guys are happy with what you got, I'm going to remove all the highlighted areas. That's just confusing.
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. That was really just for us to make sure that we knew which. The yellow
Yep,
was the
and
first revision. The blue was the second version of. Yeah, right, exactly.
yeah, that's what Jasmine told me, because I looked and it didn't make any sense to me. Why is this a different color?
That was me telling the investigator what to do so that we knew what changes we were looking at. So yeah, we'll definitely make sure we change that or get rid of that. Um, so Jasmine, are you gonna just turn around and send that to me then?
Yeah, I gotta play with this formatting a little bit, but yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, it's I see what you mean. Okay, good. All right. So that's again, just to recap, Jasmine, you're gonna resend that to me. I'm gonna repost it on the members only page. I'm gonna notify the subcommittee. I'm gonna ask them to have it by their approval, review and approval by the latest by next Friday, preferably before that. And then And Jasmine, you'll see those emails. I'll include Wally in those emails as well, so you can see any kinds of feedback that we're getting. I doubt we'll have much, but especially since we've already had some of that conversation this morning about the sampling, and that's really the only content edit, I guess you could say. So, yeah, and then once we get everybody's approval, then we'll go ahead and allow. So, well, let me ask you this. So, in terms of removing those highlighted sections, I think we'll just wait. We'll allow the subcommittee still to be able to see that. You think that that's appropriate, Jasmine and
Oh,
Doug, to be able to see those?
Yeah.
yep, you
Okay.
can keep it before I send it on. I'm
Yeah.
going to remove it. So take
Okay.
some of that confusion. The first question I asked, what are these areas?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, then I think we've got a plan. And then, like I said, I will reach out to Jean Ming and check on his remaining budget and then just have him submit a draft amendment for an extension of 6 months. And if there's funding attached to it, then we'll have to come back and put together something for the technical advisory committee to vote on. But I doubt it'll be much, even if it is.
Yep, it looks to me most of the legwork's done. So
Yeah, I think so. All right. Anything else?
Not for me.
All right, great. And I will also, Jasmine, you send me that. I'll also post the recording here so they can see the discussion, and I think we'll be set. So thank
That
you very
sounds
much for your time, everybody. Again, sorry
yep.
for the confusion today.
Oh, no
But
worries.
yeah, all right. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hey, you too. Bye bye.
All right, see ya.